Thank you, David, for your time today. I am the Popping Crease, as you can see from my shirt. My name is Fatima. It's an absolute honor to meet you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Fatima. Yeah, it's good to be on the show.
Okay, so you arrived in India a few days ago and had to go straight into quarantine and isolation. What have you been busy with over the last few days?
Yeah, it was pretty busy trip over from South Africa, but getting in here, pretty comfortable room. It is, at the end of the day, only a hotel room, so it is quite difficult to sort of maneuver and get around. Yeah, it's quite a difficult period, but we've been fortunate with Rajasthan. We've got a bicycle. They've given us gym equipment, bands, just stuff to keep ourselves active and busy. And then, yeah, I mean, I've finally fallen into the trap of getting an Xbox. Not really much of a gamer, but it is burning a lot of time and it's keeping me busy. So playing a lot of games, yeah, and obviously just communicating back at home.
But you know, computer games, they're good for hand-eye coordination, so it's not too bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, my brother said to me I want to have square hours at the end of this week, because it's literally either the TV, the phone, or my projector with the Xbox. So it is a bit challenging, but it's the only thing we can do right now.
No, absolutely. My eyes got ruined with a computer, so glasses. I have to wear glasses all the time. But I saw some photos of the Rajasthan Royals in training. Everyone looks super pumped up, ready to go. Your first game's in just a few days, so how are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I gathered that I'm probably going to miss that first game. I'm still going to be at the back end of my quarantine, but yeah, for the first game that I'll be available for, obviously looking forward to another season at the IPL and really wanting to impose myself heavily this year and try and get a few more games at least. But at the end of the day, it's out of your control, and you know, I've learned over the years to just control the things that I can control, and obviously give back to wherever I can in the team space, and be of a positive influence rather than a negative influence.
Now, I was going to say, you unfortunately didn't get many opportunities last year, so I wanted to know what you were hoping to get out of this season.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I just said, you know, if you're not playing, it is a difficult time, you know, in terms of selection-wise with the overseas, only 4 being able to play. So it can be a challenging time, but I think over the last 3-4 years, I've managed to really sort of change my mindset in that approach of being a negative influence rather than, you know, of being a negative influence. Rather being a positive influence, and it really does change my mindset, and it makes me like a happier person at the end of the day. You know, so I look back on my 10 years of the IPL, and it is really a privilege to be a part of it. So, you know, you got to put things into context, and yeah, I mean, really want to train hard, learn a lot from the guys, you know, that you can with the youngsters and the overseas guys, and it's a lovely environment here at Rajasthan, and yeah, I mean, you can't be moping around. So really excited for another season and wanting to put in some big performances when I get the opportunity.
I was going to say, you don't seem like the type that would be very negative. You always seem very upbeat and energetic and stuff. So that surprises me a little bit that you say that.
Yeah, when I say negative, I mean, I would never be a negative person. It's just not in me. But what I'm trying to say is it can be a challenging time, you know, when you're wanting to play and you're an international player, and there's 7 to 8 overseas players all jostling for 4 positions. So it can be, you know, not a negative thing, but it's more, you know, you want to play and you want to contribute towards a team success on the field rather than off the field. Ultimately, we're here for cricket, so I think that's just more where I'm coming from. And yeah, I mean, it's just making the most of the opportunity when you do get it, and trying to sort of break down the door.
Definitely, no, for sure. You said that you've been in the IPL for 10 years. What's been your most memorable moment in an IPL game?
Yeah, I've been fortunate with quite a few really good games, but I probably the one against RCB I can't remember which year it was, but I scored 101 not out, and I was still a little whippersnapper. But it was a really memorable day for me, and I think if I look back on that moment, it probably sort of set me up on the stage of international cricket. I was forging my way through the Proteas, and I think being the big competition that the IPL is, there's many viewers and a lot of people watching back at home. So it sort of just set the tone that, to sort of showcase my skills as what I can do and my potential. And it just springboarded me forward in my international career, which was definitely a highlight in my IPL career.
No, definitely. Yeah, I always enjoy watching you in IPL. Miller time. But likewise for South Africa, I mean, I remember some insane innings you've had for South Africa. The one that sticks to my mind is your innings with Faf against Australia a few years ago. So what's been your most memorable moment for the Proteas?
It is, again, it's difficult to say. There's been quite a few really standout ones in my eyes, but probably the most enjoyable one, that was a really enjoyable one with Faf, but probably my best was against Australia in Durban with Andile Petluquai at the back end. We were in a bit of trouble chasing 370 odd. It was a mammoth total, and we needed to pull something out the hat. And I mean, I think I got 118 or 120 not out against Australia in Durban, and we were chasing that as well. So setting is one thing, but chasing is always it becomes a little bit more memorable. So definitely a standout performance.
Lovely. So I've always wondered this, when it comes to super overs, there have been a few memorable super overs in the IPL. Like last year was particularly mind-blowing. It's nerve-wracking enough for us fans sitting at home. What is it like for you as a player when you get to the point, oh God, it's a super over, now I'll have to bat 6 balls? What's it like for you?
I haven't been in too many. I mean, I've obviously watched, and there was I think there was like 2 in 2 days, 2 in 1 day last year. So that was pretty rare. But the one that I look back on is probably in Cape Town against Sri Lanka, I think it was. I ended up batting. I was not out at the end. We were on their score, and I think the mindset towards a super over is you think like you just need to smack it and obviously try and get as many runs as possible. That's the obvious answer. But then you look back, and if you get out first ball, the next guy's in, and sort of you got 1 wicket left with 5 to go. So it's quite a tough one. I mean, if it's there, it must go. But I think at the end of the day, you want to try and sort of put some sort of total on, so you look half presentable, and then the last 3 balls you try and sort of get two sixes or one or 2 fours type thing, so you can try and push it up to sort of 15. But I mean, the first 1 or 2 balls, I think you just want to try and get bat on ball and try and get the overflowing, and then I mean, it's ridiculous to think this, but I think there's space for just getting bats on ball and then exposing, smacking at the back the last 3 balls.
No, I don't know how you do it, because I can't even sit on my seat. I'm too nervous. Like the World Cup final. Did you see the World Cup final with Australia, England, New Zealand? And England?
I was actually in a London cab, and I Zoomed my dad or FaceTime my dad, and he was watching back at home. So I was watching. He sort of set it up. So I was watching off my phone in a cab. Can you believe it? But I think, I'll be honest with you, I think it's definitely not more nerve-wracking when you're actually watching as opposed to playing. Obviously, you got the adrenaline going and the nerves are flowing and stuff like that. You obviously are nervous, and there's a certain stage. I mean, you want to win every moment, but it's definitely worth watching because you just can't control it. So it's out of your control.
I can definitely see that, and I can vouch for that. Definitely.
Yeah.
I had the absolute pleasure of chatting to Chris Morris last week, and seems like such a lovely guy, really easy to chat to. What's it like sharing a dressing room with him?
Yeah, I mean, it is a really cool thing to do. I've been played a couple of years now with him in the Proteas, and really chuffed to see that his name is part of the Rajasthan side. He's a fun-loving guy, really good for an environment, and he genuinely does love the game and care for his teammates, and very loyal kind of guy. At the same time, I think he looks extremely competitive, but he does look for the brighter side of things, and just to sort of not let too many things get him down. And yeah, I suppose he's just energetic, and he's extremely knowledgeable and always witty and chirpy and keeping the guys on their toes. I've had some good times with him and good laughs, and I'd probably explain him as a little 8-year-old kid that just had like a kg of chocolate cake and just on a sugar high the whole time. So that's probably the best description.
I was going to say, you are incredibly athletic. Watching you in the field, like bouncing around all over the place, I'm sure you could have had your choice of sport. So what made you decide on cricket in the end?
I played all types of sports growing up. When I say all sports, it was cross country, athletics, it was tennis, squash, hockey, rugby, cricket. This is all primary school, obviously. As you grow up, you play all the different sports, and I love sports, every sport. But I just excelled more in cricket as I was growing up. And yeah, I think just cricket just caught my attention from a young age, 11 or 12. I started doing really, really well for my particular team, and I just excelled more in cricket. So I pursued it in that way, and I loved the the rewards are so high. So when you do well, it's such a great feeling. Obviously the failures, there definitely are a lot of failures in cricket and as a batsman, but I think you just learn so much, and it's just I just love the game. There's just so much to it, so it's grown on me even more and more, and I just love it.
Yeah, I feel your sentiment. I also got into it at a very young age, and never played, but I've been watching it since I was a very little girl, so I can't live without cricket. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So is there any bowler you're least looking forward to facing in the IPL this year?
I wouldn't say I least like to face anyone. The competition is really high at the IPL, and looking back on the games that I've had against him, it's always a good challenge, and I have managed to do relatively well against him, but I do love facing him in the sense of the challenge, and that's Rashid Khan. I don't not want to face him. I want to get out there and compete against the best, and he's been phenomenal over the last couple of years as a spinner, and it is really, really cool to test your skills against bowlers like that, and the highest level.
Absolutely. Rashid Khan, I love watching him bowl. He's he plays, the way he plays, he's always a threat.
Just absolutely, always a great competitor.
Yeah, and he seems really nice too. I'd love to meet him one day.
Exactly. No, he is a good guy.
So you've been involved in the IPL for 10 years. What's your favorite thing about India?
Sure, there's quite a few. I'm going to mention a few. Obviously, the people they love having cricketers here. So, they host very well, and really look after the foreign players. The food, just the variety in cultures. There's so many different cultures. Obviously, coming from South Africa, we have a similar sort of. There's so many different cultures and belief system, but I think India is just on a whole different level. Probably the people. They're very humble and down to earth, and they come from generally majority of the country come from a humble and background, I enjoy just they're happy with what they've got, and that's just a lesson for so many of us. Just to, like I said earlier, to put things in perspective as to where you are and where what you've achieved. There's always someone worse off than you, through, if you're going through some dark times and some lonely times in the quarantine and stuff like that. We're really fortunate to have what we have.
Absolutely. No, agree with you 100% there. Final question. At the World Cup in 2019, I was at the Oval for your game against Bangladesh, and I got there quite early, and I saw you fielding at the boundary, doing fielding, catching, training, practice, whatever.
Yeah.
So I went to the advertising board, and I was going to call out to you, say, "Hey, Miller," hoping you would turn around, and I got too shy, and I went back to my seat. So I was wondering, what is it like for you when a fan runs up to you and says, Miller, can I have a photo, please?
Yeah, look, I can't remember that moment, but next time you should shout out and call me out.
No, because I didn't do it. I'm too shy. Couldn't do it.
You're too shy. Well, next time you're gonna have to pluck up the courage and try and call me out. But I certainly won't bite you. That's for sure. But I mean, it obviously it depends on the moment that I'm in, whether I'm busy or not really busy or whatever the case is. I always try and always make time for people. If I can't, I can't. But it is a really cool feeling to know that people. You often, when you're in the moment and stuff, you don't really you sort of take it for granted in the sense. But outside of the sort of space, you realize that you have an influence to so many, and just to respect that space. But it is quite irritating, I must be honest with you, especially like in South Africa, where when I say irritating, it's just when people don't really realize like that when you can't actually sign a kid's during a game, kids autograph, you can't sign anyone's bats or shirts at the time. The people shout out like, come on, make some time for the kids. And I'm just like, well, I'm going to make time when I can, but I'm at work. You know what I mean? It's like me coming to their office, and just encroaching on their space while they're sending an email or, Zoom calling or whatever the case is. So it's like, if I can relate it to that, it's like quite difficult to make time for everyone during a game. But obviously in between balls you can zip back and forth, but when the heat is on, it's quite challenging.
Yeah, you must focus. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you so very much for your time. I thoroughly enjoyed this chat.
Cool. And thank you very much.
I wish you a super successful IPL.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and thanks for having me. I look forward to hearing your voice on the sideline at some stage.